Man, they real man, not with the gay shit. You niggas sick and gross me out, transforming into a bitch. I don't want that dirty pussy, little mama. I ain't spending no a trick. Don't need you to put me on, I put myself on. Just came up on another lick. Bills paid, belly full, in lack for nothing. Nigga, do me, stay in my lane. Fuck tryna be another nigga with nothing. Brainwashed and continue lied to our social media. Censor everything real good into destruction.
With our government guilty of pushing a experimental vaccine, robbing the nation of its wealth, and starting a war with Russia, who has a superior nuclear weapons arsenal, one has to ask, be it angry mobs or atom bombs, where do these crooks plan on escaping the fallout?
Denver is now handing out free bug-out bags to help you just in case you run into emergency. Lisa, all right, I asked you last time. I need to know the checklist of everything I got to put in my bug-out bag.
Toilet paper, paper towels, toilet paper, paper towels. We've got cotton balls. 2 opportunities to get these free emergency preparedness bags. So really an important effort, especially when we're talking about severe weather.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are going to go and get those bags, but for people who maybe can't make it out there, is there anything in there that's, too tough that you couldn't just put one of those together yourself?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you could easily put together yourself. I mean, if you got any extra cotton balls, paper towels, toilet paper.
The city of Denver is letting the locals know they should be prepared for an unexpected order to get out of town in a hurry. And many people are connecting dots between this and the Denver International Airport. The Denver International Airport has long been rumored to be sitting atop an underground military base built deep beneath the surface and connected to several other underground bases. These rumors are the result of several interesting facts. From 1995 until he was found dead a year later, Phil Schneider gave dozens of lectures claiming to be a geological engineer hired to build deep underground military bases, known as DUMBs, for the US government. His father was Captain Oscar Schneider, a former Nazi stationed in Florida working black operations for naval intelligence. Phil Schneider was showing samples of what he claimed were unknown exotic metals. He provided maps of the underground DUMBs and showed off dramatic scars that he claimed were from a violent skirmish with a non-human species deep underground. In January of 1996, Schneider was found dead in his home, days after he mysteriously died of strangulation. Investigations were never completed, and it was ruled a suicide. His evidence went missing. Before he died, Phil Schneider used his clearance to take investigative author Alex Christopher into the top underground levels of the Denver airport, where they took pictures of a long road heading off to multiple destinations. Built upon 53 square miles of land, 25 miles from downtown, the Denver airport was billions of dollars over budget. Different contractors were hired for each section, some of whom have come forward and claimed it would take days to show you what's down there. Inside the otherwise unimpressive airport, there is a capstone with cryptic Illuminati and Masonic imagery, marking a time capsule buried beneath, to be opened in 2094. The airport opened with a famous 4-piece mural depicting biological warfare, death and destruction, the surrender of all national sovereignty, and the emergence of a new religion. On the floor, for no apparent reason, is what appears to be the symbol for gold and silver in a mining cart, AUAG, which is also the abbreviation for a deadly strain of hepatitis discovered in 1965. Outside on the surface, the runways form the shape of a swastika, and passengers are greeted by what has become known as Blucifer, a 32-foot horse with glowing red eyes that reportedly killed its creator when a piece of the sculpture came loose and severed an artery in his leg. This is why many people are talking about Denver's bug-out bag program, which is good, because now that we know who the people committing these historic crimes against humanity are, we can't just let them slip away into some hole somewhere. Johnny Vedmore recently published an article exposing the hidden history of the mysterious World Economic Forum, who is currently waging war against the world with their Great Reset. Founder and director Klaus Schwab's 3 mentors were the most influential people in America's thermonuclear deterrence program, as well as leading proponents of a one-world government. Henry Kissinger recruited Klaus Schwab at the Harvard International Seminar, which was funded by the C.i.a. During this time, Kissinger was focused on global governance and depopulation. But it was with the Council on Foreign Relations that Kissinger became a major player by wargaming psychological operations involving America's growing thermonuclear weapons arsenal and writing the book on nuclear weapons and foreign policy. John K. Galbraith was a highly influential economist who helped Klaus Schwab create the World Economic Forum. Galbraith was an economist at Harvard who traveled to Germany in 1938 to study land policies under Hitler's National Socialist government. From there, he went to work on an advisory committee for FDR's New Deal. After World War II ended, his work shifted into nuclear weapons. Galbraith was tasked with evaluating the overall economic effects of the wartime bombing. He interrogated Nazi war criminal Albert Speer and was sent to Hiroshima and Nagasaki to evaluate the damage caused by the nuclear weapons attack. By 1968, Galbraith had joined Kissinger in his pursuit of a one-world government. And it was during this time that Kissinger introduced Galbraith to Klaus Schwab, along with Herman Kahn, who in 1967 suggested subverting democracy by training a select group of global leaders, which later became the World Economic Forum's Young Global Leaders. Both Kissinger and Galbraith were heavily involved in the religion of thermonuclear deterrent warfare. But Herman Kahn was, as the New Yorker puts it, the heavyweight of the Megadeth intellectuals, and is commonly referred to as the real Dr. Strangelove. Kahn wrote the official military policy on nuclear deterrence and believed that if everyone had nuclear weapons, the world would know peace. By the late 60s, Kahn was pushing for a European Union and joined Galbraith in 1970 on a European speaking tour to support Klaus Schwab's recruitment drive for the first European Management Symposium, now known as the World Economic Forum. And while they were doing that, Klaus Schwab helped merge his father's nuclear weapons company into a company that he then directed to illegally build nuclear weapons for the South African government. In 1972, the Club of Rome published The Limits to Growth, which planted the seeds of the depopulation agenda. And while Kahn, Kissinger, and Galbraith helped Schwab get started, what really brought him the international support he was hoping for was when he introduced the ideas of depopulation. In 1972, the Club of Rome's founder was invited by Schwab to make the keynote speech in 1973. As controversial as it was, even Herman Kahn opposed it, the World Economic Forum suddenly caught the attention and financial support of powerful elitists everywhere and blew up to what it has become today. The article suggests that Schwab's supervillain persona is a deliberate marketing tactic to gain the attention from those who seek power and wealth, to join Klaus Schwab as stakeholders in society. The author believes that the World Economic Forum is reaching its maximum level of expansion before its inevitable collapse, because eventually people will fight back. But they already know that, and all they really seem to care about is world government, depopulation, and thermonuclear war.
From behind one podium after another, Western leaders and their lackeys talk more and more openly about a liberal world order. The more I hear and see about a world ordered by self-described liberals and their rules, the less I like it. I certainly don't recall ever being invited to vote for it. 2 years ago, I gave scant thought to acronyms like WHO, UN, WEF. Now I watch them with the same attention I give to dogs that look like they might bite.
Now the acronym is WEF, and it's all over the place like a bad smell. And more people know exactly what that smell is, especially now that it would seem more obvious by the day that this organization is wielding undue influence in the world in a way that no one voted for in the first place. WEF and its blue rooms find their humble beginnings back in 1971 when it was founded by Klaus Schwab, a man who has to realize by now that he comes off as someone straight out of central casting from a Bond film, and who, it has been imagined by many, sits around in a dark room somewhere stroking a white cat.
And when Dr. Evil gets angry, Mr. Bigglesworth gets upset.
While coming up for the themes of his organization's annual summits, which are things like shaping the post-crisis world, which he came up with after the 2008 financial crisis, or global redesign in 2010, or as most people now know all too well, the Great Reset.
First, what is the objective? So people assume we are just going back to the good old world which we had, and everything will be normal again in how we are used to normal, in the old fashion. This is, let's say, fiction. The effect will be much similar to World War, and actually all countries in the world are affected. The pandemics has reminded us how interdependent we are in the world, how we are part of a global destiny, a common global destiny.
Which he published a ready-to-go co-written book about in the summer of 2020, just a few months after the S hit the F, because Mr. Schwab has stated and quoted himself on the official left website that he sees these worldwide traumatic events as windows of opportunity.
And of course, a unique opportunity to reset our global agenda.
For his institution to intensify their programmatic efforts.
Never let a good crisis go to waste. And when crises don't just happen, we make them happen. Something like that, right?
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
So let's use this window of opportunity and let's recreate a global framework.
And by the by, even the Wikipedia page for Herr Schwab admits that his parents moved to Germany during the Third Reich in order for his father to assume the role of director at Escher Weiss AG, which is a company that during World War II was a supplier for the Nazi war effort, manufacturing flamethrowers and researching and developing turbines to produce heavy water for the creation of nuclear weapons for the Nazis. So, not even a conspiracy theory, it's just there. But in the beginning, WEF wasn't WEF. It was actually EMF, the European Management Forum. And the participants, it's probably not well known, but they pay to attend this thing. And that first year, in 1971, it was listed in here as being 500 pounds a person. 10 years later, it had already grown to the point where they were charging about $4,200 a person to show up. By 2009, newspapers were reporting that it cost over $50,000 to send an executive to this forum. But now, in 2020, according to Forbes, the price tag has gone up to $60,000 to $600,000 to have a membership to WEF, plus an additional fee needed to acquire an attendance badge, which runs another $27,000 per person to get into the conference. And Forbes writes, clearly this rarefied event excludes the average person to which the event is meant to help. Help. And while the shiny PR packaging of WEF is all about improving the world, one blue room at a time, its board of trustees includes people who stand to benefit financially from their relationship with WEF and the agendas that they produce and promote here. People like Al Gore, or the chairman and CEO of BlackRock, or the chairman of Mitt Romney's Bain.
Corporations are people, my friend.
Or the supervisory board chairman of Royal Phillips, who also happens to be climate leader of the World Bank Group and listed as a, quote, champion of the Carbon Pricing Leadership Coalition. Or David Rubenstein, co-founder and co-chairman of the Carlyle Group. Or the two guys from Siemens. Or the chair and CEO of Accenture, which is all over this US CBDC digital dollar project and things like digital ID and digital passports, which they unveiled the testing of in Canada at Davos back in 2018. So it must be really nice that the CEO of Accenture sits on the board of trustees for WEF with people like Chrystia Freeland, the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance in Canada.
So you're confirming that accounts have been frozen, both personal and corporate, but you're not releasing the information?
See how that works?